Not sure if consulting is for you? This video will help you decide. I'm going to share with you the 4 best and the 4 worst parts of consulting. So, by the end of this video, you'll have an idea if it's for you. Please remember, I'm only giving my personal opinion. I'm not speaking on behalf of my employer. Now we're going to start with the best things. And the number 1 best thing about consulting is the people. I have never worked with such motivated, driven, competitive, clever, smart people as I have in consulting. Now that's not to say that people like that don't exist outside of consulting. They do, and I have definitely met them, but there is a certain type of person that's driven to consulting, a certain type A person, and it's a joy to work with. Now, you might expect that in that type of environment it might be a little bit toxic, but personally my experience is that the people are competitive but also collaborative, because we all need to achieve the common goal for our client. And of course, the opportunities to leave consulting have been there throughout the 4 years, but it is the people that keep me here. The next best thing is the variety of work. In my time at Accenture, I have done so many different roles, but I've never had to leave the company to do them. I've been a business analyst, project manager, release manager, agile transformation person, engagement lead. I've done so many different things, and I've been able to do that without ever having to quit the company. If you're looking for a job where you can try lots of different things, learn lots of different skills, and you're very open to variety and you're open to change, then consulting is a great place. I'm the type of person who still doesn't know what they want to do when they grow up, and I think consulting is full of people like me. We're all people who want to try lots of different things, get lots of different skill sets and a very varied, broad skill set. We're very much people who thrive on being jack of all trades. I personally get bored really quickly, so a job like consulting where I can do lots of different things and have a lot of variety to keep me interested without ever having to go through the stress of leaving one company, onboarding to another, really suits me. And I think there is no career like consulting where you can see this much variety. Number 3, travel. Okay. This one's a bit more applicable pre-COVID, but back in the day I did a fair bit of travelling, both domestic and international travel for work. I've had the opportunity to experience cultures I otherwise wouldn't have done, to meet people I wouldn't have done, to go to places I wouldn't have gone to, and experience things I wouldn't have experienced if it hadn't been for travelling with work. And the best part of all of this? The company paid for all of it. I have never and never will take for granted the opportunities for travel that I've had in consulting. Now, having done some time in industry as well, then I can tell you that there is substantially more travel in consulting than there is in industry. For me, I love it. Last but not least is career progression. Now, there are examples of people in industry progressing quickly, but if you put industry and consulting side by side, generally you will find the upward progression quicker in consulting. Now, the main reason for this is because consultancies tend to be meritocracies. This means that you're not waiting for your manager to leave before an upwards position becomes available. If you can prove that you're operating at a level above, then generally the promotion comes. I personally have benefited from this progression structure. I made it from senior analyst to manager in 3.5 years. 10 months after I started, I got a double promotion from senior analyst to associate manager. So I am living proof that progression is quicker in consulting. It's not the same for everyone, and of course there will be variances between firms, so I'm not promising anyone anything. But on average, the raw data speaks for itself. Now we come to the 4 worst things about consulting, and you'll be unsurprised to learn that work-life balance is number 1 on there. Now, work-life balance means different things to different people, but I'll be honest. If you're coming to consulting looking for a strict 9 to 5, you're in the wrong place. Consulting, more than any other career, comes with peaks and troughs. And in your peaks, you'll be incredibly busy, and in the troughs, you'll be able to dial it back a bit and reclaim some of your time. I think the consulting industry is trying to shake its tough work-life balance culture brand, but I don't think it's there yet. The next is insecure overachievers. Honestly, consulting attracts insecure overachievers. And I think it's that, above all else, that drives the poor work-life balance in consulting. The thing is, you always feel like the person next to you is doing more than you and is a bit closer to promotion than you are. Now, the reality is that's probably not true, but you tend to internalize that, and that fuels you to want to do more. But then they see that you're doing more. So then they think, this person's doing more than me. I need to do more. So you see them doing more because they've seen you doing more, and the cycle continues. Before you know it, you're all working all hours for that elusive promotion. The next is politics. Now, when you first come to consulting, it can be challenging to get the balance between keeping your client happy and keeping your internal consulting stakeholders also happy. I often think of consulting like chess, but with a snakes and ladders board underneath. You do have to be thinking strategically and thinking about your next move, but you got to be prepared to deal with the snakes, and hey, if you get a ladder, use it. Personally, I've never experienced it cross the line into becoming toxic, but it can be pretty draining when you've got two equally important sets of stakeholders, because sometimes you have to create two very similar but slightly different assets. You feel like you're just doing the same work twice sometimes. Lastly, we have finding an engagement, and I don't mean about getting married. Projects are called engagements, and some firms give them to you and you don't get any say in where you're going. Other firms, you have to find your own engagement. Now, when I first joined consulting, I remember feeling very nervous about this. Now, it's just so happened that it's worked out for me, and this is because of networking, but I do see examples where people roll off one engagement and it can take a long time before they're back into a chargeable engagement. Given that chargeability is a key metric for every consultant, I mean, consulting's whole business model is people pay us for our work, otherwise we're not contributing to making the firm money. It can feel like a lot of pressure. Just because you walk through the door of a consulting firm, don't think it ends there. You have to be ready to have your internal CV ready, to be interviewing for engagements just like you would be for a job. Like any job, consulting has its pros and cons. For me, it took me longer to think of the worst things for this video than it did for the best. So the two balance out, and personally, I love consulting. I find it incredibly rewarding. Having been on both the industry side and consulting, I definitely prefer consulting. I did enjoy my time in industry, but I enjoy my time in consulting so much more. Ultimately, I can't make up your mind for you as to whether or not to join consulting, but I hope this video has helped you in the decision-making process. If you're watching this and you're already a consultant, feel free to share your best and worst bits in the comments down below. Likewise, if you're someone who's applying to consulting, feel free to share your hopes and fears in the comments as well, and I'll respond to them and hopefully allay some of your fears. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe for more content like this, and I will see you in the next one.